Saturday on Denver 7 News, threats of a chemical weapon attack from Russia on Ukraine.
Don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say. That's called World War III.
The latest on the Biden administration's response and why Americans are stepping up to fight back. Victims of the Marshall Fire are set to rally today against the delay in debris cleanup. What's still holding the process back? And a little later,
you're going to see anything from Irish pipe bands and drums to Irish dancers.
It's been 3 years since Denver streets were filled with the luck of the Irish, but the 60th St. Patrick's Day Parade is kicking off this morning.
Well, good morning. I'm Jessica Crawford. Welcome to Denver 7 News.
And I'm Katie LaSalle. Thank you so much for joining us. Jessica and I were just chatting about how nice it is to see some warmer weather.
Yes, a good break from that snow.
And the cold of last week, absolutely. This morning, it's mostly clear skies. We're already seeing 40s over the metro area. Daytime highs will return back to the mid and upper 50s over the Front Range and Eastern Plains. So plenty of sunshine over eastern Colorado, a little more cloud coverage off to the west. A live look near Glenwood Springs, partly to mostly cloudy skies. Sun is shining with dry roads near Frisco, and a little light moisture is falling up north near Rocky Mountain National Park. But dry conditions for the majority of the state today. Partly cloudy with more melting occurring at City Park. You can see that light snow shower activity up over Longs Peak near Rocky Mountain National Park, and some more cloud coverage over the foothills. Temperatures, though, are heating up quickly. We're in the high 30s now into Aurora, 45 Boulder out to the airport, Castle Rock at 41 currently. We were the single digits and low teens early on as the high country. Now seeing some 20s filtering into Steamboat down through Aspen. So bundle up this morning if you're heading to the mountains, but later on this afternoon here over the Denver area, high 50s expected, even warmer for tomorrow. More in your extended forecast still to come.
All right, thank you, Katie. Well, it's been a long night for lawmakers at Colorado's capital. Republicans are still working to stall a vote on a bill declaring every pregnant person in Colorado has the right to an abortion. They've been filibustering since yesterday afternoon. They're in recess right now. This is a live look at the legislature. They've been filibustering since yesterday afternoon. The bill is expected to pass the Democrat-led House, but opponents have been fighting the measure all night. The bill passed a House committee earlier this week. We expect a long and heated debate when the bill does move to the Senate. Well, the Pentagon's now warning Russia could use chemical weapons. President Biden has warned Russia will pay a severe price if it moves forward with this reported move.
And this comes with new evidence that Russian troops are repositioning their forces to take over Ukraine's capital. Here's ABC's Karina Mitchell.
Russia's attacks on Ukrainian cities and civilian areas unrelenting. In Mariupol, the city where a children's and maternity hospital was hit earlier, now seeing more bombardment with reports of shelling every half hour. The mayor of Mariupol describing the siege as Armageddon.
The situation is awful. Russian army continues to do airstrikes, air bombing, artillery shelling.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky posting this address to Instagram, saying the mayor of Melitopol was kidnapped, saying the actions of Russian invaders will be equated with those of, quote, ISIS terrorists. All of this while the huge column of Russian tanks that had been stalled for over a week outside of Kyiv now on the move again. New satellite images show the Russian convoy that once spanned 40 miles is now as close as 9 miles from the city center.
And we do assess that the Russians are beginning to make more momentum on the ground towards Kyiv.
Despite the critical situation in many parts of the country, there are ominous warnings today of how much worse it could get. A U.S. senior official saying Russian forces are bringing in hazmat suits amid fears Russia might stage a chemical weapons attack in the country and blame it on Ukraine and the U.S. The president saying Russia would pay a, quote, severe price, but wouldn't say what that cost would be, continuing to emphasize that U.S. troops will not engage with Russian forces in Ukraine. Karina Mitchell, ABC News, New York.
U.S. officials are also warning Americans against joining the fight in Ukraine. According to the Associated Press, thousands of Americans have applied to fight in Ukraine, with about 100 making the cut so far. The State Department says Russia will treat foreign fighters as mercenaries, opening them up to mistreatment by Kremlin forces if captured. Well, we spoke to Colorado veterans who say they're not surprised to see former service members signing up to fight.
There's veterans out there that think this is just wrong, you know, and these people need help, and we're going to go do it.
I can't speak for every veteran, but we have I wouldn't say conditioning, but a greater sense of good that's a part of us. And when we have an opportunity to stand up, for the underdog or stand up for what's right, we're going to do that.
Meantime, the refugee crisis in Eastern Europe continues to grow. The United Nations says more than 2 million Ukrainians have fled the country in the 2 weeks since Russia invaded.
More than 2 months after the Marshall Fire, people are starting to get fed up.
Yeah, the timeline for the debris cleanup, it continues to get pushed back. And as Denver 7's Christian Lopez explains, people are going to rally this afternoon to push for a faster cleanup.
Yes, they are. The debris removal process was supposed to start on March 1st, but it keeps getting delayed, and Marshall Fire victims are getting frustrated. The reason it keeps getting pushed back is because of a lawsuit that was filed by the group demanding integrity for government spending, also known as DIGS. They're claiming Boulder County violated the state's open meeting law by not involving the public when they chose the cleanup company. So they're asking the county to start the contract selection process all over again. And this is halting the debris removal process. Marshall Fire victims are getting tired of it. So they will be rallying today at 2:30 at the Louisville Arboretum. And their message is that they want toxic waste and debris removed immediately so they can return to their community and start rebuilding. As far as the lawsuit goes, there is a hearing set for Friday, and if the court sides with the county, then the debris removal process can get started almost immediately. I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Most Marshall Fire victims are determined to return home to rebuild their lives in their neighborhoods. But our investigative team found the majority of Marshall Fire victims are underinsured, even those who recently updated their policies.
And that means that rebuilding will cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars over what their policies will pay. Denver 7's investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski is taking those concerns now to lawmakers.
It does not look anything like it did.
As Marshall Fire victims try to pick up the pieces.
There are very few things left here that are salvageable.
And fight to return home.
On my street, there's 15 people, 15 families that lost their house. I want everybody to come back.
Many with insurance are finding they don't have enough to cover the full cost to rebuild.
Why is that acceptable as a society? We should do better to protect the people of our towns and the lives that they've built.
Sean Howe updated her insurance policy less than a month before the fire and is still being told she's underinsured, and not by a little.
Somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000 is the current estimate. The insurance companies, in my opinion, should be required to keep up to date with their estimates.
Do you think there will be lessons learned from the Marshall Fire?
Well, I hope so.
Senator Bob Rankin is passionate about wildfires for good reason.
There were 4 major fires in my district in 2020. So, you know, I feel a real responsibility.
Who's to blame for the underinsurance issue?
I don't think anybody's to blame, actually. I think that the insurance companies have offered a product, in many cases with options. It's an issue of public awareness. It's an issue of understanding the risk.
He says mandating insurance coverage is tricky because it would come at a high cost for everyone.
We can't mandate that everybody on the whole Front Range buys an expensive policy because everybody's not at the same risk.
But Rankin does see the need to update the risk areas for wildfires and to potentially include suburban neighborhoods like Superior and Louisville, where no one expected this kind of disaster.
And that would lead to what kind of insurance do you need depending on the risk area that you're in.
Rankin is also sponsoring legislation to make the insurance process easier for wildfire victims. House Bill 1111 would force insurance companies to pay more upfront for personal property claims. These are claims that cover the contents of your home. Currently, homeowners only get 30% of their policy value, and then have to write out itemized lists of everything they've lost to get the rest.
It's just agonizing for people to have to do that.
Fight to rebuild it and fight to get the money for the things that were inside of it.
But for Marshall wildfire victims, it's already too late.
We've got more work to do.
I think we need better regulations and we need better consumer protections.
The state is also investigating to find out how many people are underinsured. Insurance experts will tell you it's on the homeowners to update their policies every year. But those we talked to who did say their policies are still falling short. I'm Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski.
Jennifer, thank you. And just Friday, Rankin's bill did pass its first test, advancing out of the House Appropriations Committee.
Well, some big changes could be coming to your morning commute starting today. What construction is about to hit part of I-70 until summer?
And if you're planning to have a little extra fun this St. Patrick's Day, you could get a free ride home. We'll tell you how coming up.